We'd like to take a minute to thank our sponsor, Cash App. Cash App has been the #1 finance app on the App Store for almost 2 years. It was also the first major peer-to-peer payments app to support Bitcoin, and it's still the fastest and easiest way to turn cash into crypto. Cash App now supports Bitcoin deposits in-app, so be sure to move your Bitcoin from whatever wallet you're using to Cash App. Don't have any to deposit? Cash App is also the most convenient way to instantly buy and sell Bitcoin. No more waiting 5 days for your ACH transfers to come through. With Cash App, you can buy Bitcoin instantly. When you're ready to take full ownership of your private keys, just use Cash App to scan an external wallet's QR code. It's really that simple. Cash App also comes with standard banking features like direct deposits and others your bank would never even consider, like Cash Card, a customizable debit card that lets you instantly save every time you use it at Lyft, Whole Foods, and places like Chick-fil-A. It's also a favorite of the Block's analyst Steven Zhang. He saves money at Chipotle every time he gets a burrito. That keeps Steven happy, that keeps the Block happy, and that keeps the crypto world informed with the best news and research in the entire market. Download Cash App today from the App Store or Google Play, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to what is a very special episode of The Scoop. We have joining us the Chief Technology Officer of Bitfinex and Tether, Paolo. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We have a lot to talk about. You guys have been in the news a lot this past week. Paolo Ardoino, am I saying that right? Did we get that? How do we say it? What's the correct pronunciation?
It's Ardoino.
Ardoino.
Yeah.
Grazie. Un ragazzo italiano joining us. Well, I think the best place to start, a lot of us know you from crypto Twitter, an ardent defender of your company, even when there are bad headlines, negative headlines. Walk us through your role, though, because you're not, the chief Twitter officer. You are, behind a lot of the technology, a lot of the business decisions, but you're also the face of the company. What else falls under your helm?
So if I may start with brief history of my relationship with both Bitfinex and Tether. So I came into Bitfinex in 2015. So there was a few issues with the matching engine back at the time. The quality of the exchanges was still rudimental, in my opinion. So I had experience in parallel computing, distributed networks, and scalability. So basically, I met Giancarlo Devasini, the CFO. We like each other, of course. We're Italian, so it's kind of easy. And basically,
that's the only reason why he came on the podcast.
Yes. So the idea is that he asked me to improve the matching engine that was quite in during the peak times was lacking. And then I started working with Phil Potter and so on, and things started to become really interesting for me. And after a while that I was working there, the matching engine was able to do 1,000 times the number of orders per second that was doing when I came on board. So basically, until the hack in 2016, I was the guy behind the matching engine and the new WebSocket APIs. If you think that till late 2015, Bitfinex had only was refreshing the books, and most of the changes were refreshing the books only every 30 seconds via REST APIs. Now, so in 2016, I introduced WebSockets, and basically matching engine, WebSockets, all the V2 APIs that you see have been developed by me. So far, I'm being still the main maintainer of all the core infrastructure in Bitfinex when it comes to development. So developing the core tools, the core microservices, the matching engine, almost the entire derivatives platform that we are offering has been developed by me with the help of testers and, of course, risk management. But when it comes to code, I prefer to take on really risky tasks myself. Yeah, I mean, lately I'm being more involved in on Twitter because I believe that unfortunately seems like if you are a shy person or a shy company and you don't say too many things publicly, then it means that you have something to hide. So I was basically I decided to enter in the battlefield on Twitter and trying to defend the good work that both companies I work for are doing.
Great. Larry's kicking me virtually from thousands of miles away in Germany. Docs. Larry Cermak, our director of research, who's been following Bitfinex for most of his cryptocurrency career, is also on the line to help guide this conversation with Paolo. I guess my second question has to do exactly with what you just alluded to. Bitfinex's sort of role or the way folks view the company in this space, right? Over the past few years, whether it's the skeptics coming after you or research tying you guys to manipulation or popular Twitter accounts like Bitfinex, casting this sort of shadow of shadiness or adding to what might be considered by some a questionable reputation. How does this impact the firm, and how do you navigate it? How do you navigate this notion that, as you said, there might be something wrong in the state of Denmark?
So I think that one interesting fact, if I can start with that, is that you would imagine that when there are these troubles, I'm talking about the New York Attorney General or the class action, or when you share with your teams that we have a problem with crypto capital, about $850 million. You can imagine that people start, your teammates start to be worried and start maybe screaming and so on because I mean it's legitimate, right? But no one left really. No, we don't have any um, one in the personnel that ever left the company, and that is about company culture. So really, more than what is being said on the outside, I care that my team is happy and everyone in the company understands that whatever is being said is just detractors, trolls, and so on. So, I mean, maybe I'm naive in my approach, but so far it worked. I've been spending a lot of time in the internal company culture and growing that. I mean, we are an army of basically Spartans in this world compared to the size of the other teams. So, of course, then it's not easy to navigate on a daily basis where you get kicked continuously and the good things that you do, all the good work that you did in the past as well is diminished. But so you can see that a lot of people are appreciating our new approach to transparency, to visibility, to being more public, and that's also really good to see. Um, we discussed with after the hack in 2016, we had quite few shareholders that converted the BFX tokens in equity. So we had few shareholders that suggested us, that pushed us to become better in PR marketing. So far, keep in mind that we didn't have any marketing team and PR team since till basically this August 2019, because we were so focused in coding all day long. We didn't. I mean, we are a test first company, and we didn't have anything about it like that. Now we just hired the first two PR experts and the first two marketing experts. And you can see the change in the last month and a half where we started to publish more things. Also, we were able to accelerate on the number of projects that we were able to deliver thanks to thanks to thanks to the fact that our hands became more free after we delivered successfully the futures product. So is we spent honestly most of the 2019 trying to figure out how to react to all these things that were said to us, and now I think that we are demonstrating a bit more, let's say, less naivety and more strength in the public face.
Out of all of the criticisms that have been waged against the firm, whether it's the New York Attorney General or some of the questions of the skeptics, et cetera, what would you say is the most legitimate, or the one that internally has forced you guys to change direction or act differently?
So, of course, having the crypto capital problem, it was not really nice. Of course, that led us to the decision of issuing Leo. We didn't have any interest in issuing Leo because the company was so profitable that we didn't need any money. We were so in the company, no one takes a first class flight, even if it's 12 hours. We are all cheap guys. We don't like fancy stuff. So you can see how a company like us would not raise money if not necessary. So we basically, at that time, was kind of, we were forced to issue a Leo. Someone says, well, Leo was in the plans since a while, but that is not true. We just basically decided to issue that company token, and we got support by a lot of people that believed in our roadmap, in our white paper, and eventually in 10 days we raised $1 billion. And we at some point,
Pretty crazy.
yes, I was slapping my face because I say, well, this is not real. I'm dreaming. And eventually it's crazy. I mean, but there are different reasons why that happened. I believe is that different companies and individuals in our space that really care about our industry and know us since basically 2013, 2014, knew that we know that we are good guys, and they basically they know that what is happening to us is also the way it has been presented publicly was a way to take us basically down and create more craziness.
There are some companies in the space that struggle to raise, way smaller sums. Circle was having issues this year raising way less than you guys raised, and then you guys came in and raised $1 billion in less than 2 weeks. So could you tell us a little bit more about the investor profile of the people that decided to invest, and what do you think led them to commit that much capital that quickly?
So the number of investors that invest, that Leo was a private sale. So we had this concept of starting with a private sale. Now, of course, you go, let's say, first to family and friends, and then basically go on a public sale. But we were able to accomplish everything as a private sale. So Leo, so we have a really big variety of investors. I think the total number of investors was less than 100, and they vary from different sizes, from $1 million or to $100 million. Let's say in a single, more than $100 million in a single person. And
damn, who's that guy?
Yeah,
that's a good friend.
Yes, but I can tell you that there are different people that really care about us, and it's so good because you see that people want to really that really believe in our success long term, and no one would bet that kind of money on a company that is deemed to fail. So if someone really paid or that kind of money, that is a good sign.
I think Larry and I would both agree, right, that there are a number of strengths to the company. Traders, for the most part, are not abandoning Tether despite all of the headlines. They find it they find it as a useful on ramp to the cryptocurrency market, helping them with their trading. And the folks we talk to about Bitfinex's liquidity speak very highly of the platform, especially the most professional and high-speed trading groups. They're still working with you guys, but at the same time, the transparency problem has hung over the company to a degree. To an extent, do you think the transparency issue you guys had was your own sort of doing?
Okay, I think that, well, you make a good point in the sense that, it touches what I was saying before, that, of course, we have been, I mean, someone can call it non-transparent, but I mean, I can call it basically focusing on our own work and not sharing information. Being private companies, we didn't feel the need, in a naive way, to share more information that more information that what we were obliged. Also, again, we didn't have any PR marketing teams whatsoever in none of the two companies. Right now, what we decided to do is to go fully transparent and say, okay, fine. People want transparency. Let's trying to change the game. We did it with Leo. We are easily showing all of the daily revenues. So when it's really good day, we show that we are making a ton of money. When it's a bad day, the volume is low, we show that the earnings are lower. And we are planning to also give more updates on the Tether side. We are keeping working with different firms to that are high-level firms to provide more information about transparency. We asked also to confirm the Deltec balance, the balance on our bank accounts to Deltec. And there are so many things that we are doing. There are a lot of things that we should be doing more, and I'm not excusing that we will be doing them as well. Of course, you wish you can publish everything at the same time, but it requires a bit of time. But if I can tell you something that, to make an example, a real case example that I feel, this, let's say, lack of being public diminished our perception into the public opinion, is that people think that our KYC AML program is not up to date or is not good as it should be. But the reality of things is that our CCO, Peter Ward, has been working with BMO for different years. He's super knowledgeable. Him and our CEO, Jean-Louis, go to law enforcement meetings. They teach to law enforcement. We got praised by law enforcement about the fact that our KYC-ML program is more thorough than what a bank would require. Also, we were the first platform to see that servicing U.S. customer could have led into problems. So we decided to move away from U.S. before than anyone else. So I mean, I think that we had some sort of vision of where this space is going, and we are trying to keep up and do our best. Of course, sometimes there are mistakes.
You mentioned this previously a little bit, but Bitfinex is a really lean company. You guys have about 110 or 120 employees, while some larger Asian exchanges have more than 1,000. You also mentioned that you have quite, your expenses are fairly low for a company of this size and company that generates this much of profit. Could you maybe speak about, if this is a long-term plan as well to stay lean, or do you plan to expand to a lot more employees in the future?
So, I mean, we come from, so I think that being lean for a company should be always a focus. You should never, I mean, at least in my opinion, never hire more people than what you really need. As long as you have redundancy in the roles, that's a good thing. Bitfinex never hires junior developers or mid developers. We only hire senior developers because we believe that I personally don't believe in micromanagement. The reason why I can dedicate more than 90% of my time in development and coding is that everyone is great in my team and also in the other teams. So if I had to spend most of my time in making sure that projects are done in a timely fashion, it would basically make me really annoyed, and I would not work with the same enthusiasm. So, and that applies to all the other teams. Customer support is quite small; it's like 30 people. Compliance is 30 as well. The development team is 30. So, legal team is 5 or 6. So, everything, and the marketing is 4. So we are definitely just below 130 headcount.
Great. It's funny shifting to current events and shifting to what I know you're really proud of as a member of the executive team is Bitfinex's UI and UX. And you tweeted today in reference to the Wall Street Journal's article about that research report tying Tether to the manipulation of Bitcoin. The first thing that popped out to you was how sexy the UX is, which I thought was funny. But of course, you also know what a pile of nonsense. To the extent that you can, because I know, Paolo, I understand that it is tied, this report, to a court proceeding. Just generally at a high level, in your seat, what are your thoughts on this report? It's come up again, it's updated. Larry has noted some fundamental flaws in it. A lot of people in the space have noted some fundamental flaws in it. But generally, what do you think?
So I appreciate the question. I think that we are still reviewing all the details with the legal team. I personally think that this was kind of an easy. We are still the easiest target. We are the biggest, the most successful, and especially when it comes to Tether company. So it's easy to be a target for money grabbing or to get fame. I don't know. I work with a lot of academics in my life. I started in a research team also in the university in Genoa in Italy. I had really high respect of academics, and I mean, I don't know the person that wrote this paper. I just think that I didn't like the approach that he took. I think that before writing this fraud allegation, he should have double-checked or seek more consensus or more data, because it was easy for a lot of people to find flaws in it. So it's not just us that will say, well, that are biased, say, okay, these guys did not their job correctly. So, I mean, we'll see. I think that we don't have anything to hide. And the change of target, I don't know what to think about. Even if from one side it could seem better for us, the change of target, still we don't have. You can imagine that. I mean, we don't have anything to hide. We don't have anything to. Our users are all controlled. We would never have let a user to exploit our platform for any nasty behavior. So I believe that our approach will not change in any way. We will fight until we show that there was no wrongdoing by us or our users or the dogs of our users, whatever.
Larry, you want to take that next question?
Yeah. So let's switch to a little bit more of a technical side, since I know that's your area of expertise. So there are now some exchanges. I saw Kraken talking about it a little bit. They're saying that they might support the Lightning Network for deposits and withdrawals on their exchange. So I'm wondering, what's Bitfinex thinking about supporting LN on their exchange for customers, and what would potentially be some of the downsides, and how hard this would be technically to implement?
Sure. So yesterday we were one of the first exchanges to support, or I think that the first top-tier exchange to support deposit and withdrawals on back for back 32 SegWit addresses, and I think that it was a big win for us. This shows our commitment to the space. And one of the most notable things is that you create beautiful products and then you publish on Twitter and you get like an average engagement. As soon as we publish anything that is related to Bitcoin and to Segwit, everyone gets crazy, and we got a lot of interest because I understand it, right? It's also more exciting for me to keep working on the end goal of well, I think Bitfinex industry to basically push new features to that makes our the main blockchains more scalable, right? So attaching to if I have to talk about the Lightning Network, I'm really a big fan of the Lightning Network. I believe that it is exactly how second layer peer-to-peer payment, micro payment mechanism should be designed and should work. Of course, is really is still new. People complain that is still new since quite some time now. But some good things and complex things take time, and you want to have to make sure that the security around it is manageable and is done in the right way. We are working and we are funding as Bitfinex a project. This is called RGB, that aims to bring assets, so Tether on and other possible assets on Lightning Network. And that is one of the most interesting, cool things that we could be involved in, because that will allow micropayments in Tether in a fully peer-to-peer fashion. So Bitfinex, of course, is interested to continue the work to add Lightning Network deposits and withdrawals in a short time before possibly the competition.
So adding Lightning deposits and withdrawals, that's part of the tech roadmap. Despite the success of Tether, which it's so sticky, traders, despite the surge in competition over the past 2 years, they're still using Tether. Bitfinex, on the other hand, has, and we've talked about this before, Paolo. The market share is a little bit more modest, has dipped from around 25%, now around 8%. You've talked to us before that you've seen this story before. You've seen this play out. You've gone from 7% or so back up to 25%. I'm assuming Lightning, whether it's withdrawals, deposits, or adding and contributing to that ecosystem, is part of the plan. But just walk us through the broader product roadmap or the broader tech roadmap and how it plays into recapturing the market share you had going into 2020.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So that is really my specialty, because basically I'm leading the team that basically developed all the new features and the roadmap. So in the roadmap, I can reference also to our white paper. We talk about different things, right? Well, the first one has been deployed and is derivatives/futures with let's say a different company called iFinex Financial Services, and that was done. That was a big project. It required a few months of full-time development with basically seeing anything else in the world from me and a few other people in the team. But now the product and the matching engine is ready for perpetual swaps. That's what we delivered. We are working on legal compliant basket futures and basket perpetual swaps, also standard futures with standard delivery, legal compliant options. I think that everything will be still Tether based. I see that some other competitor is now rolling out the Tether-based perpetual swaps and futures market. That is a really big win as well for us, because it gives more trust, more spread to Tether even further. And these are our goal is to launch options in Q1 2020. We are working with external market makers to ensure that there will be good liquidity. Then, one thing that I really like in our space is the concept of a circular economy. So we will be working with a big and well-known partner that provides gift cards and accept the acquire of gift cards with the cryptocurrencies to integrate them in Bitfinex to create the proper a proper ecosystem where people can use their cryptocurrencies in order to buy things from I don't know, Amazon or other places, because it's important that people can see the further value of having cryptocurrencies rather than just trading back and forth between Bitcoin and USD or whatever. So yeah, I think that will show our commitment or trying and will show that we are seeking to diversify our business lines and product lines. Another really important thing on the Bitfinex side that was mentioned in the white paper is our interest in opening to prediction markets. In the white paper was named as Bitfinex. We are probably now trying to narrow down the scope of the project, but to make it sooner rather than later. We were thinking late 2020, it will be much faster, our approach to this. And I think that will open up to really interesting and crazy possibility for us. Still, we want to make sure that it's not, we don't like gambling, so it will be just a pure and legal compliant prediction market system. We showed our capabilities with our CST system, that was the chain split token system that we used in the past to predict or to have a price prediction mechanism for the certain Bitcoin related blockchain events, like the Bitcoin Gold R4 and things like that. So we will use similar mechanism, and we will of course leave only the use to verified customers. We want to make sure that everyone is protected well. Then on the Tether side, we are working hard to deliver, I think, one of the most interesting and beautiful products that is Tether Gold. Tether Gold is same as Tether USDT, but gold backed.
Interesting. So you guys are, I mean, this is really interesting stuff. Whether it's options, the perpetual swaps platform, a gift card prediction market, all new frontier for Bitfinex, but each is competitive in its own respect. Each of those markets has a number of different participants working in those respective spaces. We obviously can't talk about all of them on this episode, but if we were to just focus on the perpetual swap platform, which is already up and running, when you look at the competition, you have Bitfinex, right? The major giant that kind of really pioneered that financial product, and there are several others. Kraken is another example. Binance has launched their own derivatives platform. How do you stand out in such a crowded market? What can you do with that product that makes it differentiated from others and will draw people to your venue?
Sure. First of all, I think that I said something today on Twitter about it. We are our approach is more difficult than our competition. So in order to trade futures on Bitfinex, you have to be verified. And we are excluding, of course, also certain jurisdictions like Canada and a few others, because we believe that we want to be really protective of our users. We want also to be prepared when it is clear that regulators are looking at this space more thoroughly. So it's easier and better to have started the product in 2019 as a verified only product rather than anyone can join product. I of course support our decision. I mean, unverified users. I like the fact that there is freedom of between our users, but I need to also be aware that there is more regulation pressure, and offering a fully verified product is the right choice long term. There is no other way around, in my opinion. Either in 2 years, the regulation will be even more complete. So it is if you are going to out and seeking a license for or whatever for other products that you want to add to your line, if you showed that as soon as you launch the new product, you took the right steps, it is easier to be introduced and talk to regulators. So that is our approach. I think it makes things harder for us, and of course the volume of is not as nice as it would be on the perpetual swaps, but it will grow over time. More market makers are now working to add the support of our futures and perpetual swaps offering their APIs. So yeah, I mean, we are not in a rush. We have plenty of other products in the meantime to launch, and the full ecosystem will drive users from and interest from one product to another.
Interesting. Going back to the main exchange venue, right? What Bitfinex is often known for is its liquidity. And I think what's missed sometimes is the difference between liquidity and volume. They're not necessarily the same thing. Speak to why Bitfinex has been able to achieve this level of liquidity, and how do you maintain that?
So I think that we been having started so back in time. We have a lot of aficionados to Bitfinex. I mean, everyone loves the slickness of our interface, our APIs. They are, if you are nearby, have a server nearby to our data centers, is crazy fast. We offer, and there is nice scripts that prove it, that you can send thousands of orders per second and have a reply from the server within 1 second for all the thousands of orders, right? So that is one of the things that excites users, and for their own admission, they don't find it anywhere else. So we take pride of this, and also our margin system, our peer-to-peer margin system, allow it shows the real interest that users have also to be on our platform. So from one side, you have lenders, and on the other side, you have people that are shorting or longing certain pairs. So this is while there are more competitors now on the lending side. I think that the peer-to-peer lending is the way to go, because it shows really the real interest, the real appetite for the users to lend, the real rates in the market. So I think that that also gives to our users a better understanding and knowledge of where the market might go or not. Also, as this goes with along the lines of what I said for Leo, big traders are want to stick with us. They trust us. Whatever happens, they trusted us in the past. They still trust us, and they saw our recovery now twice, after the 2016 hack and after Leo. So I mean, there is no other exchange that has this history of resilience, or this history of being able to manage really difficult situations. So I can see why traders want to stick with us. Of course, also I want to note that I mean, I like one thing that I really like about our volume is that when the market is low, we do really low volumes. But as soon as there is a price spike, basically the gap, or the gap in movement between of let's say proportional gap movement of our volume is higher than almost any exchange that I think Larry mentioned in the because I mean I can see why. I mean if I'm in a margin position, I can see why if the market doesn't move, I don't care to trade much. Also, I believe that it's important. Our fees are really protective against wash trading and things like that. I believe that having 1 basis point fee is really dangerous for in the tax. I come from a school, maybe traditional, naive, or whatever, where you need to have some sort of friction in the markets in order to ensure that there is no interest to manipulate or create additional volume. So I think that, and if I like the fact that the market and the volumes are calm when the market is down, and then the spikes when the market spikes, and this how it should be in a normal world.
One more question. You briefly mentioned Tether Gold as the new product. So, this is a completely new Tether product. Would you want to share a little bit more about that? There are already some competitors in this area. And, any details would be interesting. Where does Tether plan to store the physical gold? Any kind of details.
And also who would like want to use it? Like, what's the use case for having digital gold?
Tether Gold I think is really. Trying to make a good question. I think that we encounter really excitement and skepticism. I know that there are competitors out there. First of all, they are not Tether. So I believe that we can do much even if we are late, our product will have more adoption just because people trust us already with kind of slightly some money, and that will happen also with the Tether Gold. I think that what excites me is to see give the ability of letting people to use Tether Gold and having a sort of comparison between physical gold and a digital gold that is Bitcoin. So we are going down that path. I think that is really exciting. I cannot tell if it will be a huge success as Tether USDT or not. What I can tell is that we got a lot of requests and excitement, even if there are even after our competition was out there. So we always listen to the people that we worked with, our customers, and we decided to do it. Of course, we'll be fully gold backed. We're working a system to ensure that every single Tether Gold is linked to a specific gold bar. There are a lot of legal things to take care about, but I believe that it can be one of the things that brings more and more interest in our space, also from traditional finance.
And there are currently more Tether variations, right? There's also Euro, there's CNY, and they haven't been getting as much traction as the USD pair. So could you maybe speak a little bit about why you think that is?
Yeah, I think that we didn't really push any of these, and we let the market decide. So if you think that Tether was traded in 2014, it took really 3 years to the Tether USDT to get some traction. I think that the Tether CNH is quite new, and we did it just for we were asked from our customers to do it because they want to have potentially a way to hedge themselves from the FX risk. If depending on if they are maybe hedge funds and so on, and they want to have a different way to hedge themselves rather than just USDT. So it's basically another way or another product that if it doesn't get any traction, fine, we will leave it like that. but I'm sure that with time it will get traction. I mean, if you think about the fact that we have Tether, Euro, and CNH, now we have the three most liquid and biggest fiat currencies onboarded on Tether, and that covers most of the needs from our users.
I think it might be worthwhile just to go back to Bitfinex's history, right? The company has really deep roots with early Bitcoin investors, probably because it was one of the earliest. You mentioned this strong relationship you have with your clients and this sense of trust that they have, but there are obviously, questions that they also likely have. And I was just curious about how you guys might be addressing them, specifically something like, with crypto capital. Does it matter at this point if that money, if you get that money back, and do you expect to get it back? And broadly to the first part of the question, do your clients care that much about what's going on there?
Yeah, I think that one of the reasons why we were able to raise that kind of money in short term is also because our users trusted us and trust our abilities to recover the funds from crypto capital. So I think that we are in a really good. First of all, with crypto capital, we were the injured party. So we were the one that we are the defense here. And when it comes to recover the funds, we are sure and we are working on it. And we are confident that we can make our case in the different courts, in the different jurisdictions. And I think that people know that we are not the kind of guy that we basically that wait on the sidelines for something to happen. We will keep fighting and hammering this matter until we get all of it or a good part of it back. And that is also why we see that. There is even if there are not amazing news, maybe Leo holds his price because people believe in the long term. I think it's fair. Leo was explicitly designed to not risk any crazy price fluctuation. Of course, it went to at some point, but it was fairly new. I think that people that invested in Leo are investing for long term, and they believe that we are able to recover a good chunk of it. So, and we will never let it go. So. Everyone would wait 3 years even if it meant if you had to recover, I don't know, $850 million being from Genoa, that is one of the Italian places where people are more attached to money. I would wait also to the eternity for that kind of money. So I believe our investors do the same.
So one of the reasons why you guys work with crypto capital was because it was just really challenging to get reliable banking. Has that improved recently? What I know that you guys can't talk about specifics, but what is the banking situation like currently?
It's really good actually. So we have different banks open, and all the banks that went through dismiss all the news that were found online, and basically came directly to talk to us. Decided to work with us. They reviewed our KYC AML system. Again, also they said that it's even more painful than theirs. So, everyone, all these banks that now we are working with, and the one example is that I believe is the second bank by dimension in Bahamas. All these banks are willing to work with us and don't have any problem. We are in constant talk. They requested all our manuals for KYCML. they have direct contact with any one of us, and they are more than happy to do business with us. So I think that there is some mismatch of the picture that is being painted and what really the companies that work with us will find eventually.
How come you don't live in Italy?
So because basically I spent some years in London to work first with my startup that created a cluster, and then basically I decided, well, let's try to travel a bit. Since Italy, I basically spent almost all my life in Italy. I said, well, why not try Switzerland? It's beautiful. There are lakes, mountains, and I spent 16 hours per day on a laptop, so I just can enjoy some nature outside of the window. So Switzerland.
It's like Larry.
Yeah, it's just like me.
Yeah.
So, so I'm curious. You say that you work most of your time, but what do you like to do outside of work? If you do anything, any hobbies, anything interesting?
No, I used to be a guitar player, but the work basically now I'm really terrible at that. I don't have time to do anything. Now I try to do a bit of sport to not get too out of shape, but let's say a couple times per week. Otherwise, basically, my wife will kill me. It's just we are almost there, so.
Hey, listen, happy wife, happy life, right? That's the motto to live by. I want to be respectful of your time, obviously, and I think that's all I have on my end. We've been going over the hour mark. I think people are going to find a lot of value in not only hearing about the new products that are coming down the pipe, but just getting some insights into the thinking around a lot of the issues that are in the headlines. Might not mollify all of the skeptics, but at least provide some context that might be helpful. Larry, do you have any other questions?
I was going to ask one question actually. So you guys have historically been very chain agnostic. Can you talk, briefly about why you've taken that stance, as opposed to some other exchanges that are more focused on purely Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, I mean, we started with Bitcoin, so it is the first love of everyone in the company. And but we showed support to Ethereum. We also start Ep028. We showed support to EOS with iFinex and our involvement as block producers and a lot of other things. Also, with Tether, there are plenty of blockchains that want to integrate Tether, and of course, there are plenty of technical, legal discussions around it. But we are happy to spread our products on as many blockchains as possible. I mean, Bitcoin is the first love. Is the for me and for a lot of people in the company is the king. So we try to do our best to continue with that vision. We are funding different projects. So it's just basically our belief that is the best designed cryptocurrency so far, and the fact that everything is on a different layer from a pure technical point of view. The fact that there is Lightning Network and is so nicely done is, pure technical from a developer point of view is just beautiful.
That's great. No, that's helpful.
Yeah, I want to basically to say lastly that we also like to get positive critics, and that's why I'm here with you guys. And we are all aware that we could do better on the community side. So I think that might be interesting to have updates with you in long term.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know where to find us. Thank you so much for taking the time, coming on the scoop We appreciate it, and we'll be in touch. The critics will continue.
I'm sure.
Trolling, maybe.
Yeah,
And,
but
it's all in
always
good
welcome.
fun. It's we've come such a long way. Just if I can harken back on the Halcyon days of the block for a moment, when there was all that banking, the questions around the banking and hopping around and opening up accounts here and there. There was this level of just, opaqueness around the firm that I think whether it was us or other people kind of added to a level of heightened skepticism. And I think in having conversations like that or like this, it helps just understand things a little bit better.
Right.
And we appreciate the time, and hope you'll come on the scoop again in a few months, and we'll keep in touch.
Sure. Thank you very much, Frank. Thank you, Larry.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Scoop. We hope you tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe and favorite wherever you listen to your podcasts. We'd like to take a minute to thank our sponsor, Cash App. Cash App has been the #1 finance app on the App Store for almost 2 years. It was also the first major peer-to-peer payments app to support Bitcoin, and it's still the fastest and easiest way to turn cash into crypto. Cash App now supports Bitcoin deposits in-app, so be sure to move your Bitcoin from whatever wallet you're using to Cash App. Don't have any to deposit? Cash App is also the most convenient way to instantly buy and sell Bitcoin. No more waiting 5 days for your ACH transfers to come through. With Cash App, you can buy Bitcoin instantly. When you're ready to take full ownership of your private keys, just use Cash App to scan an external wallet's QR code. It's really that simple. Cash App also comes with standard banking features like direct deposits and others your bank would never even consider, like Cash Card, a customizable debit card that lets you instantly save every time you use it at Lyft, Whole Foods, and places like Chick-fil-A. Download Cash App today from the App Store or Google Play, and I hope you enjoy the episode.